which standard that we should use? Shall we use your own standard, or which standard would we need to use? Now you said, according to your own standard, yeah. You mentioned I will not do this to my daughter, so you don't accept this to anyone else's daughter, basically, yeah. According to your standard, my issue is we cannot implement your standard everywhere in the world. That's your own standard. My point is, you could argue, yeah, you could argue like other people argue. You could say that this is the standard. Everyone, they will not give their daughters 9 years old. This is the time and age. The people, they will not accept this.
Right.
But if you go back in the history, it was the norm for the people to get married at that age. For example, Mary, according to your own scripture, she was married when she was at the age of 12.
Yeah.
No, now here we could say, but 12 is more than 9. But which standard here? That's why we need to know that there is in Islam, there is something, a factor in Islam plays big role in Islam, which called urf, meaning the natural or the habits of the people or the tradition of the people plays big role in terms of legislation in Islam. Meaning, when the people, for example, Islam did not give limit for they didn't give the age of consent. They said at the age when they reach the age of puberty,
maturity,
the age of puberty, which is maturity for them, now is up to them. But here in Islam as well, give the standard of the urf, which is the habits of the people. Now, and according to the habits of the people of, for example, my country now, the age of consent, they believe around 16 or 17 years old in Jordan.
Right.
Is
that good? Do you think that's
One second. It's now here again. We cannot. Yeah, but I'm just giving you kind of an insight about what's going on. My own grandmother, the mother of my father, she was married to my grandfather when she was 10. And then when I asked her, how did you marry at that age? She said, all my other friends, all of them, they got married before me. And I was one of the one who delayed, wasn't married at that point.
So she delayed from 9 to...
No, not 9. It was in the same year or around that year that most of her friends, they were married. And then she was feared that she was being left behind.
Oh, right, at the age of 10.
At the age of 10. And then she gave birth to my father when she was 11. She had my father when she was 11. And the difference age between herself and my father was 11 years, literally 11 years. When you go to ask, my grandfather was already 16 or 17 when he married her.
Okay.
Then I asked her, how did you manage? The question is, I told her, how did you manage? You were a girl at that age. How did you manage to do that? She said, for me, when I married your grandfather, it was less burden on me than the work and the amount of work which I was doing in her own father's house. She was doing much more and has more responsibility, on the.
Could I respond? No, I appreciate what you've said there. My response to the words that you've just said kind of convict me more that much as I hear your justification, I can hear it, and you've given it in detail, that it is a better practice for society to afford a young woman, a young girl, as much time as we can for her to not just occasionally meet through choices, but to set the bar so that even those who are slow or some are fast, they all get over this bar. And this is what happens in Britain, especially the age of 16. Okay, so when you said that your mother, when she was 10, your grandmother, felt that she was a bit left behind because some of her other ones are at the age of 9, having had 5 9-year-olds, unless your mother was something exceptional and she could have been, I know that the capacity for consent for my 9-year-old girls to have sex with an adult man hasn't developed, nor had their bodies developed.
Yeah, this is the time and age. You're talking.
But what we're saying, can I just finish? This is the most important thing. But within Islam, say if I was a Muslim now, and I said to you that my daughters are married now and they're 9, you would have no problem.
No, I will have a problem.
Why so?
That's my point. I told you, the habits and the custom of the people plays big role in the ruling of Islam. We don't have one standard that goes everywhere. For example, in the Arab Peninsula, the girls, they grow up more in the heat because of the hot weather, etc. They grow up more than the people who are living in Syria and these areas. They grow quicker. In a way. So which means the age of adulthood reach there, before the other age. So that's why Islam plays when Allah said in the Quran that wa'amur bil urf mean command with the habits of the people. It means the habits of the people plays a factor in Islam.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's why when you say to me, I myself, I have 12 years old daughter now.
Yeah.
She is totally unable to be responsible for a house, because the standard that we are living nowadays
Sure.
is different than the standard we lived 100 years ago.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick question?
Now,
you determine that she isn't.
no, not
mature.
the habit, the custom and the habit of the people around the society around us. It plays big role. That's my point, which I was trying to explain in the beginning.
I can understand.
So that's why when I wanted to give to offer her for marriage, that's an oppression now for me, because now she is according to the standard that the people around us, all of them, that's not the standard where they get maturity. But 100 years ago, the standard in certain areas were different.
But would
You
I be
got
right?
it?
Yeah,
You
would
understand?
it be right in saying this is where me and Ali were touching, that within Islam, correct me if I'm wrong, that the age of 9 is no impediment if the family consider their daughter to be mature enough to.
No, not the family.
consummate.
Not the family. Society. It's not the decision of a family. Again, the society, customs of the society decides what is the right thing at that point.
Could those customs be wrong?
Now, we cannot say. For example, it could be one of the things which we need to understand. It cannot be like, everyone is wrong except me, I'm the right one. It doesn't work like this. So that's why we as Muslims, we have to understand that there is something called that bringing we need to know to reduce the harm. Yeah.
Reduce the harm. I like that.
Yeah, reducing the harm is more emphasized in Islam than bringing benefits. Yeah. So if you have two-way things, we need to reduce the harm more than the benefits.
Right. Yeah.
Now, for example, let me give you another example. Yeah.
You just said something that I think we can agree on, and then you can come back.
Yeah, exactly.
When you said reduce the harm, this is something that I think is the best practice in society, is to raise the bar to reduce the harm. Because the lower the bar, there's greater chance of it
according to the standard now. In Islam, for example, it gives when the child reaches the age of puberty, is entitled to get married. This is the standard. Now, when we need to, before we give the consent or approval, we need to know what is the standard of the society now. Now the standard of the society is changed now. Now there is less responsibility on the children nowadays. That's why they are not getting their maturity, their mind. You might find even nowadays here, you might find boys and girls who are 18 years old, but they are not even mature enough to open a house or to be responsible for anything, for their own deeds, let alone to be responsible on a family.
Yes.
Where at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, there is a 16 years old boy who was the leader of an army.
Okay.
He was 16 years old. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, he appointed him. So it was known for the people when that person, he was in a state of mind that he was able to lead.
Right.
But now here, can you...
Whoa, juggle them plates.
It's a win. I don't know.
One of the brothers.
I don't want to touch it or anything. I don't know who it is. That's the
Yeah.
the wind's too strong.
Just, I don't know what, we should raise it. So,
Is it shake? Yeah.
Yeah,
Shake.
shake.
I mean, maybe we'll wrap it up for now. But
Push me again.
yeah.
Push me again.
As a Christian, this is still the position that I would hold, right? Is that I still feel that the collective society, as you said, it is better practice for a girl to be given as much time as possible to mature, because as you say, the lower you lower the bar, the more harm potentially can be done.
that's good. Yeah.
Are we agreed on that?
We agree. We need to understand again what I'm saying, what I'm trying to repeat again to you.
Yes.
So Islam, firstly, just give a simple thing.
Yeah.
When the child reaches the age of puberty, he's adult, is responsible for his deed or her deed. Now is able to open a house if they wanted to open a house. That is the day. That's the time when they reach the age of puberty. As simple as that. This is the standard. Now, what plays role now here? The education system, the needs of the society. All of these things as well has factors which plays factor in the upbringing of the children.
Yeah.
So that's why when I'm talking about 100 years ago, when I was talking to my grandmother, she was mature enough to be responsible for on a baby, where my grandfather has to go and work and be absent for such and such amount of time, and she was able to take care of her own house and to deal with the field and to farm and do all of these things, and to take at the age of 10 she was in a mindset able to do that.
Okay.
The issue is we are feeding our children different type of education nowadays, and this education in a way make them less mature even when they reach the age of puberty.
Yeah.
And I will tell you something, maybe after 50 or 50 years, after all this social media and all of this equipment, now the standard is going to change. And I assume in the future they're going to be the age of opening a house or to start a family 25 or 30. And then another person will come and will say, we need to increase the standard because now people, they are not mature enough to do that.
You know, it's funny you should say that. One of my daughters, she started menstruation at, I think, 8, right? Now, the fact that she started menstruation at 8 didn't mean that she was mature enough to have sexual intercourse physically. This is it. So you have menstruation, you have maturity in the mind, and you have maturity in the body. Now, all of those factors should be given the time to ripen to the point that it's best for the daughter, as opposed to having no bar.
Yeah,
For me as a Christian, I'm happy that we afford the weaker sex more time to mature and come to a conscious decision of what they're doing. This is the way I feel.
This is something just introduced to the Christian. It wasn't there. Where Mary was married at the age of 12. Will you offer your daughter to be married at the age of 12? Definitely not.
Well, you know what? I actually read that piece. That comes from the Catholic Encyclopedia. It's an apocryphal account of Mary. It doesn't mention Mary, but what it does say, that's how the Jews, they had a...
and it was the norm. It was the norm.
They could be married at 11 and a half. They had a year's wait, and then 12 and a half they could consummate.
So it was the norm.
Then. But I think it's better. I mean, we could look back in time, a whole load of practices.
According to your standard, again, we cannot use your own standard to generalize it everywhere.
No, my standard would be as a father who has daughters. Forget the
it's
world
up to you.
Standard.
At the end of the day, Aisha, radiallahu anha, her father offered her to 2 different people before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which means he was looking for a husband for her. One thing.
Yeah, the father.
The father.
Yeah.
And as well, she was at the age of consent that she accepted. And if she felt regret or something, she had the chance. Even the Prophet peace be upon him died, and she lived life after him. She was entitled to say, you know, I was wrong, it shouldn't be done. She never regret. In fact, she was always talking about that she lived a very happy life with the Prophet, peace be upon him. So the point is, you cannot decide on her behalf. Even when she was mature and she died later on at the age of 60 or whatever, she was always happy about the time that she spent with the Prophet, peace be upon him, which means she never saw it as an oppression or taking her rights or for example, forcing her to do something that she does. Do you get it?
Yeah, I
so
get it.
she had the chance. Well, she had the chance to say.
For sure. But we could also ask lots of married women, do you wish you'd got married at 9? And I think nearly all of them would say, no, I would have never been mature enough to make that decision. So we can cross,
You ask your wife, she said, will you at the age of children? She said, no, I wish I stayed until 30.
So she said, I again, never married you.
No. So the point is the standard is changed.
I think when you're young and you get married and you look back at it, it's worked well. Of course, you'll say it's good. But likewise, if you're old and you say, would you have?
It depends. My grandmother, she was happy, and she said.
I'm pleased that your grandmother was happy.
Yeah,
but I still, from my own point of view and the Christian point of view.
Not just only her. I'm talking about the generation.
Okay.
And I'm talking about not a generation of an area. It's not one. It wasn't a one-off thing.
Sure.
It was the norm. It was something norm, which is even to them to criticize it in the society. They say, what's going on?
Well, you know what, Sheikh? I'm going to walk away from this discussion. It's been good to have this discussion because this is the nuclear discussion in this park.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I still have this image of a 52-year-old man and his 9-year-old wife, and have had a discussion.
Are you threatening me?
Sexualization.
Are you threatening me?
No.
Are you threatening me? Are you threatening me? Come, be a man and be the camera.
We'll leave the conversation now. You take your bugs back. And,
Anyway.
I was hoping to have, and we did. We had a discussion on it, and please God, everything will have gone all right.
Anyway,
there.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
pleased,
Thank you very much.
talking to you.
Yeah.
But as,
God bless.
and as I said to you, just when you read
One
more,
of your people?
I don't know, it's one of them. I should be
Yeah, I
one
think
of them.
this is your fellow there.
No, that's mine. That's
Oh,
mine.
yeah, sorry, yeah. Could
That's
you
it.
take that?
Okay.
Banbury, someone come back and get it. Yeah.
Okay, Colin, would you like to maybe give a wrap up words?
Okay,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
no problem. Yeah.